again, it's me, Natus, for Drum and Bass Academy, and today we're going to talk a bit more about harmony, and specifically we're going to talk about harmonizing a sample, where we can't really change the notes, it's not up to us, and so we have to figure out what possibilities we have and what chords we can use. So why might we want to do this? Well, it's sometimes helpful to do it by ear. And often it can create some really nice chord progressions. But if we have a good theoretical understanding, we can actually have a listen to the different possibilities, and we might make very different decisions because perhaps we didn't hear that really interesting chord progression first time round. And so going through the chords that we can possibly use this way will help inspire us and broaden our understanding of the different types of chords we can use. Before we get started, if you'd like to know a little bit more about our free educational resources, please head on over to dmbacademy.com and navigate to the DMB Academy free access page, where there's tons of information on our free masterclasses with top producers, as well as our free sample and preset packs and our free ebooks and resources. This is really helpful for those who are just starting out, or if you'd like to know a little bit more about the sorts of things we offer at DMB Academy. Without further ado, let's get started in today's topic. So today we're just going to make it really simple. We've got a cappella vocal sample here. It's just from the stock library in Ableton, and it sounds like this, although I'm sure you all know it if it's from the stock library. So it's quite simple. It's very diatonic, which diatonic just means it's quite in the key. There's not any surprise notes. And so we just need to figure out what those notes are to start with. So let's have another listen. Okay. So now we figured it out. We know we've got an E and an F, and it goes back to the E and then down to the D, and then the CAC little flourish at the end. So now we know what the notes are, we need to think about harmony and how we're going to put some chords to this. Now, like I said, you might have some chords already in your mind that you can just hear, and you can do it by ear, and that's fine. But we want to discover, first of all, what chords are possible with the notes we've got. So let's start with this F. That seems like the most important note so far. Okay, so I could very easily just build an F major chord on this. And that would be fine. It doesn't sound bad. It just could sound more interesting. So when we're thinking about building chords, often we start with a triad, but maybe we want to add more notes on top. We want to extend the chord. So 7th chords are very common, and then 9th chords, and then we've got a 11, sharp 11 really, 13. So we have all these possible notes we can use, and these all go up in thirds. And it's helpful to think about going up in thirds because in most cases, that is what we're doing. We're adding notes on top of chords we've already established. But in this scenario, we don't actually have any chords established yet, and it might be more practical to think of going down in thirds. Now, the reason we might not always do this is because if we go down in thirds, say if I've got a C major triad here, and I go down, now I have a minor 7 chord, but it's not C. So we started off with C major, but now we're an A minor 7 chord. And so it changes what the chords are when we go down in thirds, unlike when we go up in thirds. So if I added a 7th here, it's still C major, it's just got a 7th. So that's why it might be not the best thing in certain circumstances. But as I said, we don't have any chords yet. So let's go down in thirds, and we can see this way which chords are available to us. So let's start with this F. Got an F major triad. Then we could have a D minor 7th. Now, I'm not really super happy about this chord, this B diminished chord. But it's a possibility. But this B flat might sound a bit better. So now we know that we could use either F major, we could use D minor 7, we could use B flat major 9, we could use G minor 11. Now that chord doesn't really work either. So we'll go down to E flat. So now we know we could use an E flat major 13 sharp 11. I know that's a bit of a mouthful, but that is the chord. We could even use C minor with a raised 6th. And the possibilities keep going and going. Now, what's important to note at this point is the further down you go, the more distant this note is going to become. And so it might not sound like the right chord as much. But if we stay too high, so if we just played that F major, it might sound like we could have put more effort in. So getting a nice middle ground is a really good way to go. So let's pick a chord to start with. I like just having this B flat major chord here. So, good, we've got one of our chords. Now, what's the next note? So we go back to the E again. So if we have our B flat major chord, have we got anything going on in our ear that we could think of, or maybe let's just figure it out. So let's go down in thirds again. So we can have C major 7. Or we could have A minor. We could have F major. And that could be the E could be the 9th of that D minor chord. Now, we could go back to B flat and have a sharp 11 here. But we probably want to change the chord. So I'd say let's go back to that A minor chord, because that's following the same direction. We've got that. So if we had our B flat major chord to start with, and then we went to A minor, it's following the same pattern of movement there. Now, the temptation is, when we go to this D, we could keep going with that movement and then go to G minor chord, which we could figure out in much the same way. But maybe let's do something more surprising than that. Maybe let's go down another third. We've got an E flat chord here. We've got E flat major 7, where that D is the major 7th. So that would sound like this in the grand scheme of things. Which is really nice. Almost not expected, but when we do hear it, it sounds right. And then my ear is telling me I want to go to the D minor chord. Which, again, we could figure out the same way. So now our finished chord progression sounds like this. We just played a vocal back. So that sounds really, really nice. And just to emphasize the point a little bit more, there are so many more possibilities than just this. We could also do some slightly weirder chords where the F and the E and the D, they'll all land on higher extensions the more we go down. So one possibility is something like this. Where we had some B diminished chords and then a E7 and all this sort of jazzy harmony. But yeah, all that is there to do is just to serve the point that there are many, many options. If you keep going down in thirds, trying out major and minor chords, and see if that note fits. Just like that. So that about wraps it up. I hope this was helpful to you, and hopefully you should be able to come up with some more interesting chord progressions for your vocal a cappella samples. And if you like this content, please consider subscribing. There will be more music theory related stuff to come. And until the next one, it's been me, Natus, and I hope to see you next time.